Hey Bible lovers, I'm Tim Nichols and I'm here to bring you your Nichols Worth, and today from Cambridge we have the Brevier RSV in black French Morocco leather. So let's take a look at it, but before we do that I want to tell you a couple of quick things about it. Number one, there is an error in this one that I'm going to show you. Number two is Brevier, of all things, means an 8-point font or thereabouts. So apparently, like the Pitt Minion, the word minion means a 7-point font, and then the word bourgeois actually can be bourgeois, and what that means is a 9-point font. So maybe they'll come out with a Cambridge bourgeois or a bourgeois, depending on how you want to say it. But I thought that was super interesting. Thought you might want to know that. So anyhow, this is the Brevier, which means it's somewhere in the neighborhood of an 8-point font. So let's check it out. First of all, it comes in a clamshell box. Now this is out of print. You're not going to buy this. I got this one through a trade, so I'm just showing you this just to show it to you. So anyhow, when you open the clamshell box, you will see the French Morocco leather cover. It says it right there. Now you'll see that the liner is really not that great on this thing, but this is a 22-year-old Bible. Another thing I noticed is it's starting to split. I actually took some black Sharpie just to kind of fix that because I'm kind of hood that way. But anyhow, if you go to the back, you'll see the same thing happening back here, do the same thing, but you can see some whiteness kind of poking through there where it's starting to split. So this is a really bad liner. It also came with really bad ribbons. If you know anything about me, you know that I ain't messing around with no ribbons. I replaced them with some Ribbon Bazaar double-sided satin 3/8 inch ribbons, and of course I leave them long because that's the way it's supposed to be done. So anyhow, really nice spine. It has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tooled hubs. Of course, Holy Bible, Revised Standard Version, Cambridge, Holy Bible stamped on the cover. Pretty nice gilding. I mean, this thing is in really good condition. So anyhow, here's what's really interesting. Let's go to the copyright page. And it says right here, it's the Brevier Reference Edition, and then it tells you it's a 7.25 on 7.75. Now, I asked the Bible guru, the greatest Bible reviewer of all time, Randy Brown, what that meant, and he told me that this is the actual font size, a 7.25, but it has a 7.75 leading space, and that's kind of the space between the text, which I'll show you in a second, which makes it read closer to an 8-point font, hence the term Brevier. So now let's look at the layout. It's not super impressive. It is a center column reference, and it's going to struggle to lay flat. So let's get to a place where it's going to lay flat so I can show it to you. It's way down deep in the gutter, but this is a relatively small footprint. This is a little bit bigger than a Pitt Minion, and again, it's just a barely larger font than a Pitt Minion. So the Pitt Minion would probably be the better way to go, especially since you can get it now in print, and it's not going to have this error that I'm about to show you. So anyhow, center column references, which are really small. It has some notes on the bottom. And you can see that leading space is really small. It's about a 1/2 point font size, but it does make that 7-point font read a little bit bigger. It is a nice dark font, but as you can see, it is quite ghosty. When you look at the show through, it does appear to be line matched. So that's not bad at all. It is a verse by verse format in the poetry. And then when you get into prose, you can see it is a paragraph format. So anyhow, pretty nice, but where is the problem in this thing? You have to go to page 95 and 96 in the New Testament. And I'm going to spread this out and get way down deep in that gutter. And you see that little line right there? All the way across? That's because Cambridge made a mistake. And here's what they did. They accidentally put a page from the Gospel of Mark in pages 95 and 96. And apparently some of them got out. And people were noticing, so then they went ahead and fixed the ones by, and look, you'll see something else here. See how this page is just a little bit smaller. See how, you see that line there? It's just not quite as big. They did a really good job on the repair. I've got to confess that that's a pretty solid repair. But apparently people were really upset because they discovered the problem, and then they were even more upset with their solution, which was to glue the correct page into this. So they didn't recall them, they didn't issue a new run, they just fixed it by gluing the page that is correct in pages 95 and 96. So apparently there are 3 editions of the Brevier out there available. There is this one that has the corrected page glued in. There's the ones floating around that were never returned that still have the wrong page in the Gospel of Mark, and apparently later on they fixed the problem and they have the one that has the corrected page and doesn't have the error. So if you have the one that has the corrected page and doesn't have the error, apparently you've got a pretty rare bird, so hang on to that thing. But even if you got this one, it's a pretty good little layout. It's a good opportunity to read the RSV. This is a translation I have not read yet. I've read the NRSV, but I do plan to read the RSV soon. It's not my next one in order, but it is coming up. My next one's actually the Douay-Rheims. So anyhow, this is a pretty interesting piece of Cambridge history, 22-year-old Cambridge RSV Brevier. There you have it. Keep calm. Jesus on. This is your Nicholsworth.